My name is Janice Griever from South Africa, and I'm making this video as a bit of a life update for my family, friends, and colleagues who've all been wondering what I've been up to since I ran away to the other side of Africa. So I moved to Algeria, the People's Democratic Republic of Algeria along the Mediterranean coast, the biggest country on the African continent. So how did I find myself here? Hey, I like things, man. But okay, look, here's the thing, right? Like my soul and my body and my spirit and my mind and my fingers and my bones and the hairs on my head and every fiber of my being, like everything was just craving for a new life, man. Like a new experience, a new language, a new culture, new people, like just new. Like I just wanted something new. And, of course, I also wanted to do a master's degree, but like I just wanted that new life, And I was like, you know what? I don't have a husband. I don't have a kid. I don't have any kids. So, there's no reason for me to be like sitting here at home wishing for a life that I could be living. And so I was fortunate enough to be selected by the African Union to pursue a master's degree here in Algeria. So I'm here on a full scholarship to do a Master of Science in Energy Policy for the next 2 years. I'm already a few months in. How long has it been? Like 3 months. When did I get here? In May, June, July, August? Yeah. It's been like 3 months and some change. So, obviously since I've been here, my friends and my family and my colleagues, everyone's asking for updates on what life's been like since I've been here. So instead of telling the same story over and over again, I thought, let me just make a quick video just to give a broad update on what life's been like over here in North Africa. So anyone who knows me, like everybody actually who knows me, knows that I'm really not one for social media. I barely take any pictures and videos and, generate content and all that nonsense. So I really had to be intentional about pausing just every now and then just to capture some moments. I really didn't do too great though, because there's so many experiences that I haven't captured. But anyway, so I'm just going to go through some highlights, some of the good experiences that I've had since being here. A few outings, a few events, just to give an idea of what life has been like. But, it's by no means all encompassing. It's like literally just a drop in the ocean because I've got so many stories. Oh my gosh, like wow. Now look, I've traveled quite a bit, right? So I'm not one to be easily surprised or moved or shocked by anything. But let me tell you, this place, this place has shown me flames, Baba. Like, but that's a story for another day. Today I'm focusing on the positive. Okay, so this is just a little montage of some of the highlights that I've had since I've been here. So my very first outing in my first week of being here was to La Plage, which means the beach in French. By the way, I speak French now. Okay, let me not lie to the people. I'm learning French. Je prends le français, okay? So this is the name of the town we went to. And it's right on the border of Morocco. So you can see here the Algerian flag in the foreground and the red there in the background. Those are the Moroccan flags. Interesting to note, though, that the border between Algeria and Morocco is closed. So even though they're literally right next to each other, you can't go directly from one to the other. You have to fly to like France or to Spain just to go next door because, the two countries don't have diplomatic relations, mainly stemming from the Western Sahara issue. I actually did an interview with the ambassador of Morocco to South Africa regarding the Western Sahara issue. So if you want to know more about that, I'll leave a link down below. So this is one of my fans. Okay, I'm just kidding. She saw me and she was like, oh, vous êtes très belle, puis je prends une photo avec toi. And I was like, yes, of course, come through. Let's take a picture. And that happens a lot. Like everywhere I go, people just want to take pictures. Like especially in this town that I live in. People aren't that exposed to us darker brown shaded people. So it's like a circus when they see us, like hooting, heads turning, taking videos, staring, like it's wild, like it's a spectacle. I've gotten used to it now though, but it's really like something to behold. So these are some of the people that I went with. In this picture, we've got Liberia, Uganda, Ghana. We've also got myself there from South Africa. Now, let me tell you, Miss Liberia in the orange over there is literally, I am not kidding, one of the most amazing people I have ever met. But that's a story for another day. And also the best cook. Oh my goodness, what? I'm here gaining weight because this girl is cooking up a storm every other day. Like she's so good. And Mr. Liberia on the left there is just as amazing, like an incredible human being. Super smart, super serious. Oh my God, I've never met such a serious guy. But seriously, just such a good person. And this is just a shot of the beach, and let me tell you, fun was had. We stayed here well into the night, had like a beach party. It was amazeballs. All eyes were on us, of course, a bunch of blacks on the beach having a party with all the Arabs like surrounding us trying to get a glimpse. So, I didn't capture these moments, so I suck at this. But, we had us a jolly good time in the Mediterranean Sea, I tell you what. And this was like the first of many, many beach trips because that's all there is to do around here. And at this point, I am quarter to looking like charcoal from all these damn beach trips. So that was my first outing in my first week of being here. And oh, by the way, I was like sick as a dog for 1 full month. I think it was like a month and a half. In fact, I've been sick most of the time since I've been here, in part due to the unsanitary environment, which is a story for another day. So what I'm showing in this video is just a fraction of what I could have gone up to if I didn't spend like a whole month in bed because I missed so many activities. Then we went on to official activities at the university, our matriculation day. Now, if you're watching from South Africa and you're hearing matriculation, I know you've got questions. So in SA, when you're in your final year of high school, that's grade 12, right? We call that our matric year. And when you're done with your matric year, you matriculate. So when we hear this word, we think of like completing 12th grade. But in this context, matriculation refers to the formal process of entering a university. So this was like our induction. And we even had to take like a pledge of honor. So what you see at the top center over there, that is the oath that we had to take, relating to ethics and whatnot. So I can't remember the details, but it was similar to like marriage vows where you have to promise to honor and obey. Hey, obedience is a tricky one for me, but we'll try our best. So in these next few pictures, you'll get to see really what I think is the best part about this whole scholarship, and that is how we've got people here from all over Africa. Like, we're all here on the same scholarship and we come from every corner of Africa, from the south to the north, the east, the west, and central. Like, I mean, wow, where else would I have gotten the opportunity to meet all these people? It's really such a blessing. And I'm the only person here from South Africa. So I'm like an ambassador for the Rainbow Nation. So in this picture, we've got people from Algeria, which is now our new home. We've got Djibouti, which, by the way, is where the lowest point in Africa is, at Lake Assal is how I think you pronounce it. We've got Liberia, which is Africa's first republic. We've got Nigeria, the giant of Africa. They've got the largest population in Africa, more than 200 million people. Can you imagine? Then there's me from South Africa. We've got Sudan. And almost everyone here from Sudan is named Mohammed. Okay, not all of them, but like 3 of them. And like even here in Algeria, like every second person you meet is Mohammed. Like, I'll just randomly be walking down the streets and I'll hear someone calling Mohammed. Like every day, everywhere, it's just Mohammed. Like someone is always calling Mohammed somewhere. Then we've also got Niger. I used to think it's called Niger. Thank God for exposure. And we've got Somalia there in the bottom right corner. Oh, and by the way, Somalia is like, I think they have the longest coastline in mainland Africa. Yeah, they do. It's actually Madagascar that has the longest coastline, but in mainland Africa, Madagascar is an island. So, yeah. Then we've got Zambia over here in this picture. Zambia is, of course, home to Victoria Falls. Now, Zimbabweans and Zambians are always having this argument about who Vic Falls belongs to. But I mean, it's along their border, so you can't really say it belongs to either. But Zimbabwe is home to like 2/3 of the Victoria Falls, so there's that. We've also got Sudan here, Liberia again, Djibouti, Nigeria, Ghana. Oh, Ghana has the best material. I think it's called kente. That bag that I'm holding there is something that I actually got in Ghana, and I also have like a hand fan from Ghana, which is just stunning. And then there is Tanzania. Now, I always used to say Tanzania, but if the people who are from there say Tanzania, then who am I? And lastly, and by the way, this is not an exhaustive list of all the countries represented here. There are like stacks more. But this is just what I compiled for now. We've got Sierra Leone on the left, home to Freetown, which is their capital city, which was actually founded as a home for like rescued former slaves. Then we've got some more Nigerians. We've got the rose among the thorns, Mauritania. What a fiery woman. Absolutely love her. She is a total alpha female, I tell you. We've also got Ethiopia. And you know, the year in Ethiopia is currently 2015. They've got their own calendar, their own languages. Because you know, they weren't colonized, so they don't speak French or English or Portuguese like all the other colonized countries. So they've got their own thing going on there in Ethiopia. And next to Ethiopia is Guinea. And Guinea is one of 4 countries, I think, in the world who've got the word Guinea in their name. Yeah. And then we've got another Somalian. And this is just a drip shot. This is my outfit for the day, and I'm here with Mr. Liberia. I heard someone calling him my right-hand man. Because, so in this place, right, in this specific town that I'm in, it's not the safest thing for women to be outside on their own. That's a whole story for another day. So we always need someone escorting us, like a man. Listen, this country is not for feminists. Let me not say the country, let me say where I am, right? So everywhere I go, like, you're sure to see him somewhere nearby. Okay, now let me tell you, this is the first time in my life I've ever met Liberian people, and I have never heard an accent quite like it. Like, it blew my mind. And, you know, I'm pretty exposed. Like, I've met people from all around the world, all around Africa. But, like, this particular accent, I just found so fascinating, like, so peculiar. Like, it took me a while to comfortably understand when a Liberian person speaks. I'm kind of used to it now, but it took me a minute. And, like, I still struggle. I'm always like, what? Say that again. Spell the word. Use it in a sentence. Like, wow, what an accent. But look, overall, the Liberians have just been absolutely amazing. Like, so kind, so funny, just all round lovely people. So that was matriculation day. Then at the end of orientation week, well, first of all, I can't believe that I'm using words like orientation week again. Like, I'm legitimately a full-time student. Like, that's so crazy. Like, I really lived my whole life as a career woman to come here and be a full-time student. You know what, though? Thank God for it, because I feel like I needed a bit of a do-over, you know, like a chance to redirect my life and just have somewhat of a blank canvas and just create the life that I want, the life that I deserve. Okay, so at the end of orientation week, we went on a bit of a city tour, and this was one of our stops. This palace and this architecture is just stunning. Like, if you look at the picture in the top left corner, that was apparently like hand carved, which is insane because of the level of detail. So we were divided into groups during our tour, and this is the group I was in. And again, the coolest thing here is that everyone in this picture is from a different country. Okay, here's just a closer look at the place. So we just hung around and looked around. It was not like a guided tour or anything where you get like educated. So we were kind of just strolling around, taking pictures, nothing hectic. So this is the main landmark here in Mansoura, the town that I'm currently living in, which is in Tlemcen. The ruins of the fortified city and the Mansoura Mosque. So this is usually the first thing that comes up when you do like a Google search on Mansoura, but the spelling of the town is different to the spelling of the landmark, but they pronounce the same. So these are just some snaps of the scenery. It's really pretty, and again, no guided tour or anything. We kind of just looked around, and I remember I was feeling very reflective on this day, and I kept sort of wandering off on my own. And that's something that happens a lot. So, like, for those who don't really know me, I am a very, 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 like, very big loner. I just love being on my own. Like, some of the best moments that I have or that I've had are when I'm just in my own company, just reflecting on life, appreciating the moment, like just being present on my own. Like, if this was a place where I didn't have to fear harassment every time I walked out the door, that's a story for another day. Like, I would have been all over the place just by myself, appreciating life, exploring. Like, there's just nothing better to me than being on my own and, just appreciating my surroundings. Like, before I continue, let me show you this picture. It's nothing fancy or anything. So this was me sitting under a tree by myself, just looking at the sky. And I'm telling you, like, out of everything that I've done, this is probably one of the most precious moments for me. Because, at some point in life, you get to appreciate the simpler things more. So for me, looking at the sky brings me a lot of peace. Like, every night I look out at the moon, I look out at the stars, and it really just puts things into perspective for me. Like, when I think of the vastness of the universe, it humbles me. And I always remember to just keep my feet on the ground, and I'm reminded that I'm just a speck in the universe, like so insignificant in the grander scheme of things. And somehow looking up at the sky reminds me of my mortality and of the fragility of life. And I'm reminded that it can end at any moment. Like, every morning when I wake up, I'm always like, this might sound a little daunting, but like, what if I die today? Or not what if I die, but like, I could. I'm always reminding myself, like, I could die today, I could die tomorrow. And that sort of brings me back to focusing on what matters most. And like, looking at the sky, just, it amplifies that so much. Like, it just reminds me that I'm, like, the universe is just so vast, and anything can happen at any time, and anything can change in a moment. So I try not to waste time on frivolous things and insignificant things and people. So if you're a person and you're in my life and I take time to talk to you and I spend time on you and time with you, then you matter, because I don't like spending time on things that don't matter. So when I do this, when I look up at the sky, I almost just come back to myself. Okay, so that was just a little side note. Back to business now. One night we went out for ice cream at this nice little ice cream place. This is like where people hang out because, there are no clubs or no bars around here because there's no alcohol, because, it's a Muslim country. But I think other towns are a little more liberal. There are some towns where you can have like a bit of fun, where they have clubs and alcohol and things like that. But the town that I'm in is very, very conservative. So there's none of that here. So here we go out for ice cream and hang out like little high school kids. But we hang out until like late at night. Can you imagine that? Like hanging out, having ice cream until like 1 a.m. So anyway, so this night we went out for ice cream, and the next thing I see, red carpets getting rolled out, and it's a wedding, and it's like midnight. So that was interesting. Now, you might notice when I play this video that we're only seeing the groom here, and that's because the bride is having a separate thing somewhere else. I'm not too sure how that works, but this is the information that I got. It was quite magical though. Like, I think I really like the fact that things are done differently here, and that I'm getting exposed to that. It constantly reminds me that I'm not at home, and I appreciate that experience. Like, I really like the fact that my eyes are being opened to a completely different way of life. So this was a cultural day that we had, right? And it was showcasing traditional Tlemcenian weddings. So this is most likely what the bride that day, wherever she was, would have looked like. So this dress that the bride is wearing is called the Cheddar of Tlemcen. And it's really just gorgeous. Like, I need to wear one of these before I leave. I mean, not to get married in, unless of course God has those plans for me, but I just want to bask in the glory of such exquisiteness. As a matter of fact, there was someone who promised me to dress me up in the local, like, traditional clothes. So I need to call her up. Hopefully I'll have pictures when that happens. So we've actually had quite a number of cultural events. I didn't capture all the moments though. I'm just not good at it. Like, I just like being present in the moment. So these two guys were amongst the first friends that I made when I got here, and on this particular day we were all over town just having a good old time, and they were just showing me around. And they also took me on my first ride on the local téléphérique, which is French for cable car. Ooh, look at that lighting! Yes!
Oh, Janice! Welcome to our country!
Oh, thank you! I'm having such a blast.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you're having a blast.
Yeah. And here we were just hanging out. The one is a rapper, so he's always spitting bars. Now, let me tell you, human connection, hey, like, is so strange and so precious, because so the one rapping, like, does not speak English, and he's the one I met first. So we were just like communicating in like sign language, but somehow just clicked, which is incredible. And it reminded me of a quote I read once, and this quote says, "Communication is merely an exchange of information, but connection is an exchange of our humanity." And one of the things I've truly, truly appreciated is being able to connect with people just from different parts of the world, different religions, different ages, personalities, different educational backgrounds, and also different worldviews, but there's always a place where you find common ground. And I suppose it's in that one thing we all have in common, and that is our humanness. And speaking of connections, we went on a bit of a hiking trip to connect with nature. And I think this trip also served as a gentle reminder of how unfit I had become. There's nothing like a climb up a steep incline to humble you. I mean, I was just like drenched in sweat, panting for my life, like trying to breathe. And I was like, okay, I need to hit the gym again, like properly, because it was very difficult finding a gym when I got here. But after this, I was just like, you know what, it's okay. I'll just go to this all-male, crusty-ass gym down the road. But something needs to be done before I turn into a ball of grease. But other than the struggle of me trying to drag myself and my extra luggage up a mountain, it was loads of fun. We also had a birthday girl, Miss Kenya over here.
It's a birthday girl! Happy birthday! You're out in the wilderness on your birthday. How are you feeling in French? Say it in French. Say je suis what?
Je suis what? No, I don't know.
C'est bon.
How do you feel about this? In English?
Je suis happy. How do I say happy?
Content.
Je suis contente, très contente,
Okay.
and also fatiguée. Je suis fatiguée.
Ah, ok. Je suis fatigué.
Je suis fatiguée, yeah.
C'est un plaisir de partager ces moments avec toi.
Je play what?
Okay, it's a pleasure to share this moment with you. It's a good event and we enjoy it.
So look, these were still early days, so I could barely speak French at this point. Okay, look, let me not say barely, because that's being generous. I could not speak French. And my friend over here from Niger could barely speak English. But, we've made a lot of progress since then. Je parle un peu français, et il parle un peu anglais, and we continue learning. And you'll hear in these videos taken during our trip to Mostaganem that his English had improved significantly, but I still couldn't speak French at this point. So yeah, this was just like I said earlier, one of many beach trips that we've had. All we do is go to the beach because we're on summer break currently, so we've got all the time in the world. Now, a very sensitive topic for any man, right, is the issue of balding, losing your hair, okay? But this guy has found a very good reason for his balding, and it's absolutely not his fault.
My friend Janet say my head is go.
His head is gone. I mean his hair.
No, because just
What is it?
the cheveux.
To cheveux.
Some party?
Some party.
Go.
Go away.
Non, pour ma défense, c'est l'eau de l'Algérie qui m'a fait ça. What Algeria, what
Algeria, what's a stop your hair?
So you heard the man, the Algerian water has caused his balding, so who are we to argue? And these were just a bunch of random kids asking where we're from. And just while we're here, a quick note on Mr. Niger over here. I mean, what a beautiful human being he is. I mean, just so kind and so gentle and just wow. And this is, another one of those human connection experiences where we don't even speak the same language. Like, we could barely have a coherent conversation, but there's just something about human connection that just can't be explained.
At the Mediterranean. Over there is Spain on the opposite end. Espanol and
Italy, let's go. It's not far.
Okay, now we didn't quite make it to Italy, but we had fun nonetheless. And this was Mr. Nigeria's first ever encounter with the ocean, and we were there to witness it.
This is Sam's first time ever. First time in the ocean. How does it feel?
It's kind of nice.
Kind of nice.
I feel that I don't want to go home. I just stay here. The water is cold, and this is the first time I've seen waves.
First time you're seeing waves.
What's up?
So that was our trip to Mostaganem. Now I am sick and tired of the beach. Like, let me tell you, I don't need to go to a beach again. I am tired. And I'm tired of burning. I'm tired of just being out in the sun, just baking. So I'm good with the beach now. But at the end of August, we're gonna have one more beach trip to end our summer. And after that, I can see the beach again next year. I'm good. And we're gonna be going into winter anyway, so I'm done with the beach, hey? Okay, so these three ladies have been amongst the most important people during my time here. My sisters from Liberia and Kenya. So Cheesy on the right there is our resident baker, and she's part of the reason why I just can't lose weight around here. This girl bakes, and she's so good at it as well. You see that cake in the center at Vivian's birthday? I'll get to Vivian in a moment. But she baked that cake, and she's always baking, on a random Tuesday. She'll be like, oh, I made cinnamon rolls. And I'm like, girl, what do you want me to do? Because if the cinnamon rolls are there, I'm going to eat them. You're dealing with someone here who's very, very weak when it comes to food. So the best thing is to just not have it there. So when it's there, then, I'm in trouble. And so she's always putting me in trouble because everything she makes is so good. And she's also our little baby. She's the youngest. And she just graduated at the top of her class, number one. So let me tell you, she came here from Kenya. She did a whole degree in water and hydraulics engineering in French, and then graduated as the top student amongst French speakers. How she did that is just beyond me. So that's our little engineer Cheesy. She calls herself Fluffy, and she's just the cutest little fluffy princess, and she's trying to get all of us to be fluffy with her as well, with all this damn baking. Then we've got Violet on the left, also from Kenya, at her birthday picnic that we had. And I remember how gorgeous she looked on that day. Like every 2 minutes, I just looked at her and I was like, damn, girl, you look amazing. And she's not just gorgeous on the outside, but an absolutely just lovely human being. Like she's got such a warmth about her and just like an endearing nature, like a hug in a cup. Like just picture drinking like a cup of hugs. Like that's how I see her, like that's how I view her. And she also kind of likes things just like me. So like if I want to have a good time, I don't have to look too far. And in the center, we've got Vivian from Liberia. And I mean, wow, like what a person. Like every once in a while, you meet people who like shake your core, and who fundamentally impact your life. Like I remember there was a time when I was sitting in her room, like just in awe of her kindness. And I was thinking, like I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like you have no idea the impact that you're having on my life. And you have no idea that I will now forever be indebted to you. Like I had a really hard time when I arrived here, story for another day. And I'm telling you, had it not been for this woman, I just can't imagine what my experience would have been like. It's so rare to meet people who are just natural givers. Just natural, like it's like a mother, like, and I will sing her praises all day long to anyone who will lend me an ear. I mean, she is kindness personified, even though I sometimes don't understand what she's saying. That Liberian accent I was talking about earlier. So yeah, man, these are some of the people who've had a profound impact on me during my time here. And there's also Dr. M, who's my therapist, but I'll talk about him next time. Like he has been, wow. Okay, he's not actually a therapist, but he's been my therapist. Also just a very significant person during my time here so far. So I really just feel so blessed, to have met such incredible people because, it's also not the easiest thing making new connections and new real friends as an adult, right? So it's absolutely amazing that I've been exposed to such amazing human beings. And this is my absolute favorite place to be, and these are my gym buddies. Now, you might notice that I'm the only woman around, and that's because I am. Now, let me tell you how difficult it is to find a gym around here where women are allowed. Let me just say that, I did find a female-only gym, but it was a bit far, so it would have been like impractical because I like to train every day. So everywhere else, women are either not allowed or they would give you these like ridiculous time slots. Like women are only allowed on Tuesdays and Thursdays between 1 and 3 p.m. Like, I mean, just what am I supposed to do with that? And like, what am I doing with my life that I'm supposed to be able to go to the gym at like 2 p.m. on a Tuesday? Or is it assumed that I'm supposed to be at home tending to the floors and dishes so I can just take a little break in the middle of the day? I mean, I don't know, man. It's just really outrageous. But all these frustrations are a topic for another day because I will need at least an hour and some tea to get through. I mean, just buckle up for those stories because it's wild, like unfathomable. But anyway, here we are at the gym. So these are the guys that I train with. And this for me is just a very, very, very happy place. And this is really the only place where I don't get tired. Like I can just go for hours and hours just pumping iron. And like this one guy is always like, Janice, please, tomorrow's another day. Like, because I can just keep going, okay? Now, let's just have a look at Mr. Kenya over here. I mean, the man is working, right? I mean, are you even really training if you don't make this face? Like, I don't think so. This is the gold standard to show that you're doing the most. Like, just look at this. The man is working, man. The rest of us are just playing games. Like, this is the face you make when you are training. Like, if you're not doing this, then you're not training, please. So yeah, man, these are my training buddies, Kenya, Nigeria. I've had 1-2 sessions with DRC in the top left corner over there. I mean, the man is shredded. I don't know how he does it. He's like ripped. And I'm just like, mate, in these conditions, I don't know. I don't know how he's doing it. And then we've got Liberia there as well. He comes every now and then. So yeah, man, after That hike that I mentioned earlier, where I realized I was breathing like an obese middle aged man, I really decided to commit myself to training. So, this is my sanctuary. And since we're on summer break right now, I'm really capitalizing on all the free time. And I am just killing myself in the gym every single night. But after killing myself, I feel more alive than ever before. So, I love it. This is my favorite place to be. So, this is a summary of my first few months. I'm just going to leave this up here, and it's literally just a fraction of everything that's been going on. And I mean, it's pretty damn cool that I've been able to spend the past few months this way. You know, ordinarily, I would have just been at work and doing very little else. So, what an incredible opportunity to get a break like this. I call it a break, but you know, I'm still doing my master's, so it's a different kind of stress. But I mean, I am living a life right now that I couldn't have dreamed of, like at this stage in life, you know? So just wow, like I'm still in disbelief almost every day when I look around and I see where I am. And by the way, I'm ashamed to say it, but like, I love sleeping so much. And the fact that we just get like 2 months off in the middle of the year for our summer break is insane. Like, I've been sleeping so much. And that's been another dream come true. Because how? Like, how would I have done this if I was working, you know? So, man, this has been an experience of a lifetime. And, you know, it definitely hasn't been what I expected, but definitely what I needed. And that's also a very long story for another day. It's really put my life into perspective because, you know, exposure shapes your perspective. And boy, do I have a very, very altered perspective. And I'm also a foreigner in this country, you know, which is interesting because I've never experienced life as a foreigner. I mean, I've traveled a lot, but I've never lived in another country, you know, and not just in another country, but one that is so fundamentally different in so many aspects, like the culture, the religion, the language, the people. Like, you could be a foreigner in a strange country, right? Like, you could be, you know, just living in another country, but you could still go unnoticed, maybe until you speak to someone or until you mention that you're not local. But here, like when you're the only darker person for as far as the eye can see, and you're a spectacle everywhere you go, and kids point at you, and men walk into poles turning their heads looking at you, and people hoot when they see you and take photos and videos of you like you're a zoo animal. Like, you're reminded, right, constantly that you're a foreigner. So what an experience. You know, one of the things that I never truly grasped from the perspective of someone who was living in my home country is how difficult it must be from people, or not from people, but for them. Like, how difficult it must be for people to be in a strange country and learn the language. And here I am now trying to express myself in French, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, how do I even have like a personality? Like, I can't have a personality in this language because I'm just like grunting keywords, trying to get the message across using body language, like probably sounding like a Neanderthal. And it's incredibly challenging. And I like it. Like, I really like that I'm being challenged this way. And I like that I know that I'll be able to speak French properly by the time I leave here. Like, I mean, how cool, right? I mean, I know anyone can just learn a language at any time, but nothing beats like immersing yourself in the environment and finding yourself in situations where you're forced to like think of the word and find a way to express yourself. And you also realize just how broad communication can be and how it's so much more than just verbal, because you know, now we're out here using our whole bodies trying to show what we mean. I mean, I was in the gym the other day and this guy was telling me that he works at the Teleferique. And I was like, what in the hell is a telerific? Like, and the man was damn near doing somersaults trying to explain to me that it's a cable car. So, you know, we find these ways of communicating and, you know, when we can't do it verbally. And of course, there's Google Translate, which always helps. But a lot of the time, people don't want to use that. Like, they want to try to express themselves, like, because even people here, some of them want to learn English, so they want to try, and I also want to try, like, remember the word when I'm trying to say it in French. Okay, so one more thing before I go. So when we go to the beach, right, we're going to the Mediterranean Sea, which is great. It's nice. It sounds exotic. So like even me, like, okay, when I tell people where I'm going, they're like, ooh, Mediterranean. Like even me before I came, I was like, ooh, Mediterranean. Listen here. This place is not Mediterranean. This is the desert. I'm in the desert, okay? And I'm talking about specifically where I am. I'm not describing the entire country, okay? I'm talking about my little town that I'm in. Like, there are sandstorms, like dust storms. Listen, desert. Okay, let me tell you. Let me tell you about the weather, okay? Now, I'm just gonna put this picture of the desert here as I tell the story, because I feel like it will help you to feel the heat as I describe it, okay? So for the next few minutes, you're just gonna look at this picture of the desert and truly feel the pain with me, okay? So I'm really gonna try to paint this picture as vividly as possible. Like, just bear with me, because I'm gonna take you on a journey over here. Okay, so 34 degrees Celsius is hot as hell, right? Like an unbearably hot summer's day in December in South Africa would be around 34 degrees, right? And it's only like that one day, like when you're like, yo, today is the exception, like today is extreme, like it's hot as hell, like even at the height of summer, like it doesn't just get to 34 degrees. Like in Johannesburg where I live, or I guess lived, like unless you're like in Limpopo province or like in the Northern Cape, like listen, 34 degrees is not common. It is hot as hell. Like in summer we are like late 20s, 28, 29, then it hits 30 and you're like, oh shit, it's hot as hell. Like the moment it reaches 30, you're like, I know, like we're in the danger zone now, like it's blazing, right? So 34 is hot. Like, just to be clear, I'm trying to paint a picture here. So 34 degrees is hot. Now imagine this, right? And I'm describing the month of July to you now. So this has been July here where I am in Tlemcen in Algeria. So it's winter in South Africa now, like in July. Well, it's August now. It's the windy season. Not season, but like the windy month. But yeah, July was like a bitterly cold winter in SA. But here it's like the height of summer, right? So this is July here. It's 11 p.m. and it's 34 degrees Celsius. 3 a.m. it's 34 degrees Celsius. 5 a.m. it's 34 degrees Celsius. 34 degrees Celsius is the minimum, meaning that it does not drop below this temperature. Like at any given point in time, it will never go below 34 degrees Celsius, no matter the time of day. Then it's 6 a.m. and it's 36 degrees. By 8 a.m. it's 38 degrees. By 10 in the morning, it is 40 degrees Celsius. And it doesn't stop there. Like it peaks somewhere in the mid 40s in the afternoon. Like when I say to you that these are unimaginable levels of heat, like to someone who's never been exposed to it, I mean, it is crippling, completely debilitating. Like I have never, ever in my life, like, because I hate winter, right? I have never, ever imagined that I would long for the cold. And like, I know that South Africa this year has had like an unusually cold winter, but I will take that winter over what I have experienced here, like in July. I can't live this life. Like, what do you mean it's 45 degrees? Like, what do you mean? Like, have you ever walked out of the shower and immediately just dried? Like, all the water just disappears from your body as if you're out in the sun. Have you ever done laundry and have it dry as if it was out in the sun, just leaving it in your room. Have you ever had a bottle of water in your room feel like, 30 minutes after boiling water in a kettle and you just leave it there? That temperature? Like a bottle of water just chilling in your room, damn near reaching boiling point. Have you ever surrendered to your own sweat? Have you ever sat in a puddle of your own sweat because there's nothing you can do about it? Like, I remember how bewildered I was just sitting here, giving up on life, with sweat dripping down my nose, dripping from the ends of my hair, running down my back into my crack, sweat seeping out of every pore you can imagine. Like, my arms were wet. Like, I personally never experienced like sweat on my arms before. My hands, I don't even have sweaty palms. And I'm not even talking about the palms. I'm talking like about the top of my hand, like the top of my fingers. Like those pores opened up and they were sweating. And then you're like, okay, maybe if I just open the window. And I know you're thinking, what are your windows doing being closed in the first place, right? It's because I know what's out there. I know what's going to happen if I open that window. But in this moment of desperation, I'm just like, okay, maybe if I just open the window, I'll get some relief. Listen here. When you open those windows, you're opening the gates of hell. Because when you open those windows, you have fire blowing into your, like it feels like literal fire. Like there's a dragon at your window blowing fire straight into your room. That's what it feels like. Or like there's a giant heater, like a giant fan heater, just blowing hot air into, like there's no relief. And no, I don't have air conditioner. There's no aircon here at these residences that we're staying in. Can't even switch your fan on. It's the same thing. It's just hot air. Like I've never experienced anything like this before. I've never imagined. I mean, listen, we're in South Africa. We know heat, right? Like our kind of heat. Like we know Limpopo heat. We know Northern Cape heat. But I could not have imagined. My mind wouldn't have been able to come up with what I've experienced here. Like, it's that crazy. It's that wild. Like, whew. I've never. So, okay. So you get the picture, right? So now let's, you see how hot it is. Now let's make this picture even more colorful, okay? So on top of what I just described, I want you to imagine 20 to 40 flies. And I'm not making this up, okay? And, okay, 20 to 40 flies just hanging around, okay? Now look, flies, we know, thrive in the heat. So my God, I have never seen so many flies in my life. Like, what? Oh my God, listen. I've never. And this is only in July, okay? It's not constantly like this. I'm describing July to you. Like right now, it's okay. Like, it's normal. But in July, what? Okay, so they work in shifts, right? So the mosquitoes work night shifts. So from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And again, I've never experienced so many mosquitoes in one place in my life as well. So at night, I'm at war. Like I'm fighting for my life, like trying to fight off all these mosquitoes. But of course, it's a losing battle. So when I wake up in the morning, I am covered in bumps. I am not joking when I say covered. I mean, I had mosquito bites in between my toes, my fingers. At some point, I had mosquito bites on my lips. So, at some point during the night, you kind of just have to surrender and just let them have you, So they work the night shift, and from 6 a.m., the flies show up for duty. And that is the beginning of just misery in its purest form. Oh my God. What in the world kind of a life is this? I guess we're in Africa now, which is funny because, okay, so everyone knows that South Africa is like Africa light, so a lot of people say that SA is like the Europe of Africa, or that we're only really getting to experience what it's like to be in Africa now with this extreme load shedding that we're experiencing. So when I got here, I was like, oh, this is Africa. And the reason why I say it's funny is because people here, given that they're not black, also refer to the rest of Africa as Africa. So there's a lot of times when someone will also ask me like, hey, do you guys also do this there in Africa? And like as if we're not in Africa. Meanwhile, this is the most African experience I've ever had. And when I say African experience, I'm talking about the stereotypes, like what I just described. Okay. But oh my God, South Africans, you have it so good. Like we really are living a first world life there without even realizing it. We just take that good life for granted, man. And by the way, I'm not saying that this is how Algeria is as a whole. I'm just describing where I am, and I'm just describing my experiences since being here. And I'm not closed-minded enough to think that this is representative of the entire country. Okay, I'm still going to explore over the next year or two while I'm here, and I'm sure I'll have some incredible stories to share over the next few months. And I've met some really, really amazing people here in Algeria. So, I mean, I'll talk about all those things another time. So this has been my life over the past few months in Tlemcen. Bittersweet, but I'd say overall it's been a net positive. So looking forward to seeing what the next few months bring.